You're looking at the spinning tire of Kurt Johnson, and here is his opponent, Ricky Smith, in the Slick 50 Pontiac. It was quite a battle in round number 1 when Smith pulled off the upset of the round, defeating Bob Glidden in the Ford Thunderbird. Kurt Johnson qualified number 4 at a great 7:10 and defeated Bruce Allen in the Chevrolet in his first round matchup. He ran a 7:17. Smith had qualified with a 7:14, good for 12th. He also ran 7:17 to beat Glidden in the first round, almost equal as they approached the starting line here. Ricky Smith, noted for great reaction times. Kurt Johnson, of course, finishing second to his dad last season in the Winston Points chase, regarded by many as one of the true rising stars of professional drag racing. Well, both drivers just sitting in the pre-stage beams. Nobody has moved forward yet. Who's going to break first? Finally, they start to creep into the beams. Kurt's there. Ricky Smith taking his time. He makes it. And though Ricky Smith got the advantage at the starting line, Kurt Johnson was able to pull it out on performance. A 7:12, 193-mile-an-hour run, a losing 7:18 for Smith, but he did get the advantage off the starting line, the whole shot. So next there it is the Oldsmobile versus Dodge battle continuing, but this time it is Larry Morgan at the wheel of the Castrol Super Clean Cutlass against Darrell Alderman. The lane choice here going to Alderman. Now let's go down to the far end of the racetrack and join Steve.
When you race Ricky Smith, you have to be ready for anything on the starting line, and you were.
Yeah, I knew that he wanted to come in there last. He came in there against Bob. He took 6 seconds, and they should have thrown a switch on him. I guess they lost count up there somehow.
Guess what? Now you get one of those Jeeps, as you like to call them.
One of them Jeeps. I'm just glad to be in the semifinals. You know, we haven't missed a semifinal since Seattle last year. My crew, Bill Smith and Pat Baird, they're doing an excellent job on this Cumberland Motorsports Oldsmobile.
Keep it up.
Kurt Johnson headed into the semifinal round of competition, while back at the starting line, Darrell Alderman brings one of those Dodges, or Jeep, as the Johnsons like to refer to them. Of course, there isn't much off-roading going on here, just covering a quarter of a mile as quickly as possible. Alderman has the lane choice based on a 7:13 in the first round. Larry Morgan ran a 7:20 when he defeated George Marnell. The quicker qualified car, though, is Alderman. He was number 2 at a 7:06. But the book here is he shook the tires violently against Tim Jost in the first round. They have changed wheel sizes and trying to get a hold of the pavement. Let's see if it works. Track. He is forced to shut it down while Darrell Alderman runs low ET of eliminations, a 7:07 at 195.5 miles an hour. And look at this. Guess who's got lane choice? Scott Jeffrey on, obviously. He wants to be in the lane where Darrell just won the race. We'll be right back. The reigning Winston champion in Top Fuel Eliminator, Eddie Hill, with a wave for our cameras. He is autographing t-shirts. We'll have a whole lot more on the Eddie Hill story in just a few moments, but right now, back to the starting line, and Mark Cowboy Poway starts spinning the big Goodyears on his pro stock car, the Summit Racing Oldsmobile, and Steve has had a chance to catch up with Darrell Alderman.
That 7:07 wasn't quite as easy as it looked, was it?
No, it wasn't. You know, the first round we went left real bad. We had 15-inch rims on it. We put 16-inch rims on it, and it really hooked up. Raised the front wheels up in second gear there. I knew it was on a heck of a pass.
Did you know that Kurt Johnson calls that pretty Dodge Daytona a Jeep?
Well, you know, I think Scott and I probably have some names for the Oldsmobiles, too.
Just put it in four-wheel drive and go.
That's right.
Well, he's still smiling about it. Call it a Jeep or call it a Dodge. He is in the semifinals. We're on board with Scott Jeffrey on as you see him backing into his own tracks. David Hutchins, the crew chief on Jeffrey on's car, watching as the same activity going on in the opposite lane. Dave Butner, the crew chief for Mark Howick, directing him into the spot he won. Mark had qualified in the number 8 spot with a 7:12 and beat Mark Osborne in the first round with a 7:15. Jeffrey on the number 1 qualifier at a 7:03, just missing the shot at the 6-second club to be the first driver to do it. He ran a 7:10 in his first round victory. That came at the expense of the number 16 qualifier, Jerry Ekman. Again, Oldsmobile and Dodge here in Houston. The advantage at the starting line, but it didn't help him much. A 7:10, 195-mile-an-hour charge by Scott Jeffreyon. That advances him into the semis. Let's take a look at that run once again. Mark Howitt got the advantage, but you'd never know it from Scott Jeffreyon's position. You're on board in the Flying Dodge. He just crossed the finish line at over 195 miles an hour. Let's go to the far end. Steve is with Scott Jeffreyon.
Your partner runs an 07, you run a 10, the Dodges are hooked up.
Yeah, it sounds like his little Dodge is hooked up a little better than my little Dodge. But, you know, these guys from Wayne County, it's just every run, it's just, you know, who gets it down the track a little bit better, that's who's going to run a little quicker, because there's so much parity between these two cars in the Wayne County camp, it's immeasurable.
For the fans, a great Final Four coming up.
I'm not sure who's in the Final Four, but it might be the same guys, is it?
It is.
Well, it's going to be fun. It always is.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Steve, I think you're getting just a bit anxious. 3 of the 4 of the semifinalists are the same drivers that have been in the semis for the last 2 consecutive races. But there is possibly a spoiler for this man. Warren Johnson qualified in the number 3 spot. He won his first round race over Steve Schmidt with a 7:10. That gives him lane choice over the surprising Jim Yates, who had qualified in the number 6 spot at a 7:11, beat David Rampey with an identical time, 7:11 in the first round. There are many who regard Yates as the one person with the opportunity to jump into that group, the very elite group of the Dodges and the Johnsons. Both drivers sitting in the pre-stage beams. Now, who's going to go in first? Johnson likes to stay last. It is Jim Yates rolling in. He's set. Here comes Warren. Yates in the Dynamax Pontiac got a slight advantage at the starting line, but WJ's GM Performance Parts Oldsmobile had the power. The winning time for Warren Johnson, a 7:11 at 195 miles an hour. As we watch again in replay, keep that number in mind. Just a fraction of a second slower than either one of the Dodges that are in the semifinals. Boy, Yates gave him more than he expected, though. As they approached the finish line, the Oldsmobile was just barely able to pull ahead, and it was about a fender length margin of victory in time. 22 thousandths of a second, the margin for Warren Johnson. That sets up the semis. Scott Jeffreyon in the Dodge against Kurt Johnson in the Oldsmobile. Scott has the lane choice for Warren Johnson and Darrell Alderman. The answer there, Darrell holding the choice of lanes. Steve?
A nice 11, but it's going to cost you lane choice. Kurt doesn't have it either.
Well, we're in the semifinals. That's all that matters. You can't win a race until you get one round at a time.
Been a lot of lane jockeying going on back there, though.
Yeah, there's been some oil downs out there and whatnot going on. So, you know, you just take a shot at what you feel is the best lane. Sometimes it is, but unfortunately, sometimes it isn't.
Get psyched up.
We're ready.
Warren Johnson heads into the Final Four in Pro Stock Eliminator, and in just a moment, we'll show you why Joe Amato is lucky to be in round number 2.